Adrian Peterson's quarterback in 2020 for most of the season was Matthew Stafford. I feel like Stafford has said more in the last 2 weeks than he had in his entire career combined. It seems like every day we got another Matthew Stafford story. Matthew said this, Matthew said that, Matthew said this. Now he says that he had a good relationship with former Lions coach Matt Patricia. He and I had a good relationship. No matter what anybody wants to say, I could go into his office and talk to him. That's a pretty low bar. He could get me on the phone whenever he needed to. I think we both grew in that relationship. I have a lot of respect for him and who he is as a football coach and an unbelievable mind. That's a far cry, Myles, from what Stafford had to say, and I'm pulling up the quote here. After they lost on Thanksgiving to the Texans, that was the final nail for Patricia. Stafford was asked if Patricia should remain the coach, and Stafford said, "It's not my decision. That's for somebody else. If you want to ask me about the game, you ask me about the game." That was the kind of yikes moment for me that yeah, Stafford doesn't care. Stafford doesn't care if they change coaches, and Stafford's not going to burn any of his equity in Detroit speaking out for Matt Patricia.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, too, you had to probably figure from a Matt Stafford standpoint, I'm pretty much done with this. And we know that because right after the season, he goes to the ownership and the team president and says, "Hey, guys, can you trade me, please?" And it turns out they say yes, and now he's going to Los Angeles, and he's going to be an LA Ram once that thing becomes official at the start of the new league year. But I think part of the issue here that he says with Matt Patricia, or the fact that there is no issue, I guess I should say, is that he's just trying to point to, okay, yeah, I could do all these things, and, you know, we had a decent relationship, and we could get on the phone, and we could talk things out. But he's not really saying anything about all the decisions that were made. And really, when you look at it, Matt Patricia is the reason why Matt Stafford is no longer going to be a Detroit Lion. He basically drove him out of Detroit. There was lose. They took what Jim Caldwell had, you know, a 9-7 football team. And yes, you could say whatever you want about Jim Caldwell and what he did there, but they at least were a franchise that was middling to winning, right? Now they're just the losing franchise that they've been. And so I totally understand why Matthew Stafford doesn't want to necessarily be a part of that. But I also understand from the standpoint of, I don't necessarily want to go out here and burn a lot of bridges, why he would say, you know, Matt Patricia's he's not a bad coach. We had a good relationship. But what does that really, really mean when you just kind of look at the words? It's kind of empty.
Patricia's flaw was he showed up and he tried to immediately instill the Patriot way into the Lions. He called guys out. He treated players the way that Bill Belichick treated players, and it just didn't work. It didn't work. He lost the players quickly. Matthew Stafford, I would guess, never stood up in the locker room. Let's listen to him. Let's follow his ways. He's bringing in a bunch of Super Bowl championships. It just didn't work. And that's the problem with so many of the Bill Belichick disciples, even the ones who say, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to be my own person. What they don't realize, Myles, is after 15 years with Belichick, they have become him without realizing it. They think that that's the normal way to lead a team. Showing up, and on the first day when you meet with the team, you single out one of the stars and you piss him off. Darius Slay, let's make him the scapegoat. Let's make him the target. Let's make him the guy that I show to all the other players. There are no sacred cows here because I'm going straight after him. Doesn't work. Didn't work. And I look at this quote from Stafford. He could get me on the phone whenever he needed to. Well, you know what? The Texans can't do that with Deshaun Watson, so I guess that makes it a good relationship.
It certainly makes it better than what the Texans have right now. Yeah, I guess you're right. But the thing about Matt Patricia, too, and this always just struck me, I guess, as a reporter, when he goes into that press conference and then he says to the reporter, hey, man, you know, why are you slouching? You know, get yourself right a little bit. You know, have a little pride in what you're doing. This dude coaches with a pencil behind his ear, and you're talking about have a little pride in what you're doing and don't look like a slouch? Come on, man. You got to be better than that.
Well, and beyond the pencil, and I think going into his third season, he finally realized the connection between, or the disconnect between perception and reality. He'd let that beard just get so crazy, and he looked like a far different guy than who he was when you dealt with him one-on-one. I just think that 15 years with Bill Belichick will screw up anyone. And it warps the reality of what should be acceptable and tolerated in a head coach and what works. And again, Bill Belichick can be whoever he wants to be with all those rings. That's the challenge. When you're one of his guys and you go somewhere else, if you don't win right away, you're not going to last because those methods are going to piss off everyone and they're going to start clamoring for you to be gone.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.